Well, yeah, that's awesome. Um, Something new, something different. And I must say, I haven't done karting in a hell of a long time, be it real time or on kart line Africa. And yeah, we come to you from the Logitech G circuit at Zwartkops Raceway in Pretoria. And we're watching the guys go around for the qualifying session. 9 drivers out there. This is the junior category. And so far, Mateo Mason is the quickest driver out there with a 48 point. No, he's just been pipped there by Thailand Patel. Patel with a 48.542. Mateo Mason dropping down 0.140 behind Patel. And then 0.254 behind Mateo Mason is Sebastian Ferrer.
Oh, Mateo Mason's pretty quick out there, just 0.14 at this stage of the fight. That's for the 301 cart. Taylor and Patel, that's the cart that we've got out there. So this is pretty much the juniors. They are in the mini 60 class as such. And, well, from the Logitech G circuit here at Zwartkops, we're going to look and learn, and we're going to learn a hell of a lot this evening. And for you, the folks at home, welcome. Second Gear Productions coming to you live. And later on this evening, we're in fact going to be doing the seniors and the masters that we'll be doing for you later on this evening. And we'll try and pick up as much of those lovely shots as possible. Frankie, you've done a lot of time throughout South Africa and at the West Province Motor Club, Killarney International Raceway, doing the live coverage of karting. So this must be sort of like call back the past.
Oh yeah, I've been doing karting since 1994 up until the end of 2020, and stayed away for 2 years. But yeah, it's great. It does bring back memories. There's a couple of CRG karts that you see out there on the circuit. I don't know if you can have Tony karts and all other chassis out there, but I did pick up a couple of CRGs. And with 6 minutes and 45 to go, it's still Maddox Mason. He's the man that is now just been pipped there by Mateo Mason. I can only presume that they are family, probably brothers. And Taylor Patel in that third position from Noah Cronier. Of the famous Cronier racing family is Noah in the 324 kart, currently sitting out there 0.5 of a second behind provisional pole sitter Mateo Mason.
Well, there you can see a view looking backwards from the 324 of Noah Cronier. And if you look at the track map on the right hand side, you'll see the 324 in there behind the 317 car as they work their way. Just ahead of that is the 324. There you can see Noah Cronier, and then Diaz directly in front of that.
Now that's the CRG of Noah Cronier, that 324. He's been dumped down to P5 because Sebastian Ferrer has moved up with the 315 kart into P4. And that is a lovely looking shot there of the roaming camera on the CRG of Noah Cronier.
Well, Alonso Diaz a lot closer. That means right now that Noah Cronier is actually quicker than Alonso Diaz. Alonso Diaz plus 1 point odd seconds, and look at that there, the board's changing once again. But it looks like the Mason brothers, Frankie, are really the pace setters in this, the mini 60s class.
Yeah, and I think they're going to go like the Merry Clappers. It's going to take a lot of the other guys to get to them, but mind you, Taylor Patel in the 326 sitting in P3 is only 0.3 of a second off Mateo Mason. So Patel, don't write him off, neither Noah Cronier or Sebastian Ferrer. Sebastian Venko is in that P6. He's almost a second behind Mateo Mason, followed there by Logan Balau, Alonso Diaz, and Jensen Diaz.
Well, there you can see they're sitting pretty close to one another. 315 of Sebastian Ferreira. And I think Sebastian is putting up some pretty decent times at this stage of the fight. Remember, at this stage, they are 4 minutes 20 left in qualifying. Sebastian Venkov runs it a bit wide. I think that's going to actually cost Sebastian Ferreira just a little bit, because I think he could have been just a little bit quicker at that stage of the fight. And, whoa, he climbs the curbstones, and this is costing him pretty dearly with 4 minutes and 3 seconds to go as we ride on board with Sebastian Ferreira. Venkov right there in front of him. Getting to Venkov was one thing. Getting past for Ferreira seems to be a different story. And Ferreira, there he goes through with a 3:15. Oh, eating up those tires pretty heavily up into that fourth position. Pointed 2:74 of the fastest time. And that, frankly, right now on the Logitech G circuit here at Zwartkops, 48.072 of a Taylor Patel. That is the fastest lap time out there as Sebastian Ferreira goes off the circuit.
Yeah, Sebastian Ferreira. On the board it says Ferrer because it doesn't fill in the whole name, so it is definitely not Sebastian Ferrer, but it's Sebastian Ferreira as Taylor Patel hits the fencing on
trying very hard
inside and gets going again, does the 3:26 of Patel, and he is the provisional pole sitter. Oh, Maddox Mason doing a bit of farming there in that Logitech G corner. This is one of the few kart circuits that's in a figure of 8, purely because of the crossover. There's a double right-hander, as you see Maddox Mason working his way through. He's currently there in that third position in kart 302. He's 0.04 of a second behind Patel, and Matteo Mason is 0.02 of a second in P2 behind Taylor Patel. So with 2 minutes and 15 seconds approaching in the qualifying session, the man to try and dethrone is Taylor Patel, but believe me, Matteo Mason and Maddox Mason, the Mason brothers, are in second and third position. Sebastian Ferreira is a 0.2 of a second off Patel, followed by Noah Cronier, that's 0.4 of a second off Patel, and Alonso Diaz, that's 0.8 of a second off Patel, and then Sebastian Venko is just under a second off Patel. As a matter of fact, that's now just over a second, followed there by Logan Balau and Jensen Diaz. A minute and a half to go in the qualifying stint. This is the juniors, 9 of them out there. There's a lot more on my list, but it seems like only 9 of them have taken to the circuit at the Logitech G karting circuit at Zwartkops Raceway, just outside of Pretoria, not too far from Erasmia. That's where you'll find the Zwartkops Raceway, and that is the Zwartkops International Karting Circuit that you are looking at there. This is where we're coming to you tonight, and there's 50 seconds left. Oh, Logan Balau is trying hard. He is in P8, 1.3 seconds off Mason, trying so hard he spins it around in the hairpin. Taylor Patel in that second position, 1/10 of a second off Matteo Mason. Maddox has dropped down to P3. He's now just behind Patel. So Patel is the meat in the Mason sandwich at this point in time. With 15 seconds left on the clock, these youngsters are going to go flat out to see if they can dethrone Matteo Mason from that pole position.
Yeah, Maddox Mason, frankly, just 0.167 off, and that comes to the end of the qualifying session, so that's about as far as they're going to go for now, and they'll have to slow it all down and bring it onto the line, and then we'll get going with the pre-final. The pre-final being 9 laps, and then the final itself being 13 laps. So 47.8, the fastest out there for Matteo Mason, with Taylor Patel just 0.12 off that, just 0.16, so 0.04 of a second between Maddox and Taylor. Sebastian Ferreira, a half a second off the fastest lap time. Less than 0.2 of a second behind that is a Noah Cronier, with Alonso Diaz inside of a second, and then also Sebastian Venko, that is also right in there and doing a brilliant job as well. So Venkov finds himself in 7th in the 333 cars. So there the buzzer goes off, and we'll start getting them up onto the grids. There we go. Maddox Mason, he's keen, Frankie. He's some of the first man on the grid.
Yeah, he wants to go. He wants to get past Patel and join Mateo up front, then have a go. So they are beginning to grid here at the Logitech G karting circuit at Zwartkops International Raceway, right there in Erasmia, just outside of Pretoria, in the Northern Transvaal, or Gauteng North, what do you want to call it? Let's call it my Northern Gauteng, as they are all gridding. There's 10 of them, not 10 of them on the grid yet, only 6 of them out on the grid. And Mateo Mason is there, Sebastian Ferreira is there, Maddox Mason is there, Noah Cronier is there, Alonso Diaz is there, Logan Balau is there, Sebastian Venko has now also gridded. We're waiting for second place man, Thailand Patel, to still grid. I'm not sure what's happening right now.
The pre-final, it's kicked them off and pulled them back in again, so I think you'll probably find that Shane Loubser has realized that some of the guys are running into, some of the parents are running into a bit of a problem to get everybody in, and for that reason, just making sure that they do a reset on that. There you'll see the front end of the grid, and still Thailand Patel does not show up on the grid whatsoever. So let's hope he's not going to miss out on this race whatsoever. You can see a little bit further back in the field. There we've got Ko Sierra right at the back. Jensen Diaz in the 3-5 is already out there on circuit. Alonso Diaz is pretty much good to go. The pre-start and the timer of 1 minute 16 seconds. So the mommies and the daddies will be standing in the background and saying, come on guys. Okay, I see Shane Loubser saying some guys getting DSQ. Therefore, that is why the pre-start has been reset. At the end of the day, Frankie, this goes all about bringing the youngsters into the sport, getting them going. So that is why we give them as much opportunity as possible to get out there. But the biggest problem right now, Thailand Patel, still not on the grid.
Well, I'm counting 5 CRG carts out there. The whole right-hand side row was racked and stacked with CRGs. And then we've got 1 CRG. Look at that 301 of Mateo Mason. Is that not a familiar colored crash helmet, Gary? You can get a shot there on 301.
Yeah, a lot of these carts, the liveries on the carts and the helmets are specifically done by Shane Loubser and numerous other people that help to get that sorted out. So yes, you're going to see a couple of helmets that you know very, very well. The pre-start for the pre-final, 9 laps it will be when they come off the lights.
Well, that to me briefly looked like a replica Ayrton Senna helmet. But yeah, we'll have to look and see. The back end of it for a brief moment looked like it. And
the start sequence has been completed, and it looks like it's been reloaded. There we go, Thailand Patel. We've got Thailand up on the grid, so well done, Shane Loubser, for getting that one sorted out. Let's just hope that we can keep him on there. And I see Thailand Patel now drops onto a DSQ onto the bottom end of the field. But we know Shane Loubser. Big thanks to Shane Loubser in conjunction with Logitech G, bringing us this very first round for Online Karting League Africa, and this is going to be a regular thing that you get once a month. Going out and off the line we go.
Well, I see Thailand Patel has been disqualified. I think it might be for a jump start, and he's been completely disqualified. But as they make their way, some of them into the tyre walls already. Here they come down towards us. It's a Mason Maddox with Sebastian Ferreira. That is there in that second position. Sebastian Venko was also just in there behind Sebastian Ferreira. That sits out there in that CRG kart. He is currently there in that second position. 9 laps of action at the Logitech G kart circuit. To the double right hand of the go. He's chasing down Maddox Mason. Watch out, they're going to go under the bridge and then over the top of the bridge. There's nothing between Ferreira that sits there in that second position. Down the main straight they go once again, and he's chasing down race leader Mason Maddox.
But look at that, Sebastian Venkov has moved a long way up, right up into that third position, and Sebastian Venkov starting to put a lot of pressure here. And I think Sebastian Ferreira will be looking what's happening in front of him. That's where he wants to be, and look at that. He's right up there and starting to put the pressure on.
Yeah. Mateo Mason, then we see Sebastian Venko right in there behind him. That's looking at the engine from Venko's kart. Look at Mateo Mason. He's been hassled there by Sebastian Ferreira. Ferreira's diving around him, inside, outside, trying to find a way around. This is typical karting action. It's quick, it's fast, and it's supersonic as Ferreira takes to the dirt. He's on the case of Mason. We might have a change up front. Yes, we do. And the cutback by Mason once again. Ferreira overdoing it there.
Well, nothing much between them at this stage of the fight, and making a little bit of light contact using the curbstones and more. Sebastian Venkov right in there. But don't forget about Mateo Mason. Mason's done a brilliant job. Mason leads him out pretty decently.
Yeah, Mateo Mason sitting out there in P1. He's got Sebastian Ferreira in that second position, and Ferreira is being hounded there by Sebastian Venko. Venko's all over him. That's first, second, and third. Into the right hand, and Venko dives up on the inside of Ferreira, and Venko turns it upside down. Venko turns it upside down, coming out of the final corner.
So Sebastian Ferreira, the man that's leading them all out, and wow, it's been a bit of rough and tumble at this stage of the fight. The 315 on the previous lap was in fact the lead kart, but it's chopped and changed quite a bit, and this is lap number 4, the pre-finals that's in progress. That's what you see right now. And well, I tell you what, this is how we teach the youngsters how to get into mainstream karting, and it looks like Mason's made a problem. Mateo Mason's got himself a little bit rattled, and here comes Sebastian Ferreira.
Sebastian Ferreira's on the case of Mateo Mason. They go wide, then they cut in. That's racing lines at its best. And Ferreira runs wide on the dirt, coming out the final corner. Working their way down into turn number 1. That's at hairpin left-hander coming out of turn number 1. Then they've got that long straight before they go into that right-hander. Then under the bridge. And Mateo Mason's got Sebastian Ferreira crowding the back end of that 301 CRG machine of ease. And Ferreira's trying hard. We're looking at the rear cam of Sebastian Ferreira that's sitting in that second position, and for now we see nobody behind him, but he's got missile lock on Mateo Mason.
Keep in mind that Jensen Diaz is in fact the next man in the queue there, but that being in the last lap, 7 seconds down, and hence the situation that you've got with Jensen Diaz getting closer and closer from 7 seconds up to this distance that you see here now. So blindingly quick by Jensen Diaz. Lanza a little bit further back, first, second, third, and fourth, not that far from one another. We've done 6 of 9 laps so far.
Well, this is karting action at its best, and this is the fight for P1 and P2. Out of turn 1 they go, down that long straight, into turn number 2. Then it's a little bit of a stomp on the gas before you turn left, right, under the bridge. They'll be going over that crossover shortly. Into that hairpin right-hander they go. And it is a heck of a fight there between them. Nova Cronier is sitting a little bit further down with that 324. As a matter of fact, the board shows him in that
position now.
Second position, yes, is Noah Cronier of that famous Cronier racing family. Noah Cronier going into turn number 1 in that CRG outfit of his. Couple of retirements out there. Sebastian Venko, Maddox Mason, Logal Balau, retired. Kayo Serra didn't start, and a disqualifier there for Taylor Patel. That is Alonso Diaz we're looking at in that 317. That's the roaming cam that follows them around with Jensen Diaz right in there behind him. That's obviously also family. And those two CRG karts are right there with each other Alonso Diaz, and right behind Alonso is Jensen Diaz.
Yeah, Jensen doing a pretty decent job. Just had a little bit of an off there at one stage of the fight as they work their way up towards the very tight section. It's lap 8 of 9, and Noah Cronje on the very fast lap.
Yeah, Noah Cronje just took the lead away there from Sebastian Ferreira. Noah Cronje in the 324 CRG sitting out there in P1. And when they crossed the line, he was 2 seconds ahead of Sebastian Ferreira. Noah Cronje way ahead there of Ferreira in that second position. We've got a lap and a bit to do. Through that double right-hander they go, and they will be making their way around. That's the helmet cam of Noah Ferreira. You can see that kart move around as he comes around to start his final lap. One more lap to go for race leader Noah Cronje.
Well, doing a brilliant job out there is Noah Cronje in the 324, and just streets ahead of everybody and everything else is Noah Cronje. Sebastian Ferreira is on the last lap, 2.1 seconds further back, but you can see on your track map a big difference now in the gap between first and second. So the last lap of the race, you see it there on the left-hand top corner, Noah Cronje in the 324 doing a brilliant job, and we follow Noah as he's on his very last lap.
Yeah, he's heading towards that final corner. That's a triple right-hander. The checkered flag will come out while it shows Ferreira.
Noah Cronje goes to the top, and
Cronje wins this one.
They go across the line. Here comes Sebastian Ferreira, and Sebastian Ferreira is just in there behind Matteo Mason, and they pretty much on their last lap now. Well, that's the way I understand it. The 317 comes across the line, and does that mean the 317 is in that second? We'll pick that up as we follow through with Sebastian Ferreira probably coming up now. You'll see the checkered flag. Oh, very hard into the last corner. Is that the checkered flag on the right hand side? Yes, it is. So oopsie, a little bit of a knock there right at the end. So Noah Cronje from Sebastian Ferreira, Jensen Diaz, Alonso Diaz from Matteo Mason, and then Frankie, unfortunately we've got a couple of retirements there, should I say.
Yeah, I just got a touch confused with that leaderboard. I forgot that leaderboard only changes every time they come around, but it's definitely Noah Cronje from Sebastian Ferreira, Jason Diaz, that's your podium, Alonso Diaz in P4, and Matteo Mason in P5. Sadly, 3 retirements, Sebastian Venko, Maddox Mason, and Logan Balau. Disqualification for Taylan Patel, and it did not start for KO Serra.
I think that's what happened on the line, Frankie. We're pulling forward too quickly. And it's unfortunate. It's one of those things. But, I mean, they do have 2 races. That's the pre-final. That was 9 laps that they had. And I think there's 1 minute between the close-off of the pre-final and then going 13-lap final. Let's hope that Taylan Patel, that didn't make it for the start of the first race, can actually be out there for the second race, because being the second fastest qualifier and then not be able to actually make it out on circuit for the finals, that'll be a big disappointment.
Well, we'll have to see. He might have to start from the back of the field. Remember, he was disqualified from race 1.
Venkovski.
Right, let's have a look, see. Will he start at the back?
Mateo's on. Sebastian Ferreira, that ended in the second position, is up there on the grid as well. Oopsie, Alonso Diaz.
A little bit too over eager.
Just slightly.
And 3 karts disqualified. Just like that. Gone.
There's a reset.
Yeah, I would think so.
They're going to do a reset. So, but you see, Frank, at the end of the day, remember, we did say that this is the learning curve, and the whole idea is to help the youngsters. And a lot of these are pretty much 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds that's in this type of event. So Noah Cronje from Sebastian Ferreira, Jensen Diaz from Alonso Diaz, and that is the front 2 rows of the grid.
Yeah, then we see Sebastian Venkov, Logan Balau. A lot of these guys are too eager, And
Super
they're
keen.
stomping on the gas, and every time Shane Loebscher has to hit the reset button, say, come on guys, do it right.
Lovely
Do not
stuff.
creep out of your box.
The right foot is a little bit heavier than the left foot. I think that's what it's
Yeah.
all about. So there
Stay
we
in your
go.
grid box.
So Noah Gronier's got it right. Sebastian Ferreira's got it right. Jensen Diaz has got it right. Alonso Diaz is in there. Mateo Mason having had an up and down session. Sebastian Venkov starting on the third row of the grid on the outside.
And then Maddox Mason is there. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's about P6. Right, away we go. This time everybody gets off the line. It's a little bit of a how's your father with Sebastian Ferreira that took to the dirt, and Maddox Mason turns it upside down. Alonso Diaz spins it around, and a couple of guys smashing there into that grass embankment. Wow, they are going hell for leather. These kids are going to try and catch Noah Gronier. That sits out there in P1. Sebastian Ferreira's there in that second position, followed there by Mateo Mason right in there behind him. Taylor Patel sits in P4. He was DQ'd from the opening race. Then it's Logan Balau that's in there just behind Patel. Remember, this is a 13-lapper as they make their way over the bridge. Oh, Mateo Mason loses a position there to Patel and to Balau, going very, very reckless into that left-hander.
Oh, they're falling off left, right, and center. So the intent is there, no doubt about it. And Mateo Mason in there behind Logan Balau and pushing very hard underneath the bridge. They go, the tight right-hander there, you'll see it. And they're going to go now into that 180-degree bend, turning it around very tight. Mateo Mason doing a lovely job putting the pressure on.
Look at those two helmets, Gary. The 301 of Mateo Mason, that's an Ayrton Senna replica. And Logan Balau has got a Mika Hakkinen replica helmet on. So these guys are obviously copying their Formula One Euros. And oh, Balau is under immense pressure there in that CRG kart. He has got Mateo Mason right on his case. He goes wide. Somebody has turned it upside down into that left-hander. I won't worry these guys too much. Logan Balau coming through, Mateo Mason, and might have been Mason that turned it upside down. We don't know. This is fast and furious. Logan Balau climbing over that curbstone, tried to hang in there as he works his way around. Logan Balau, the board shows him in third position. Noah Gronier is still the man that's there in P1. He's 1.9 seconds when they cross the line ahead of Sebastian Ferreira.
Yeah, Sebastian, there comes Sebastian. That you can see is the difference between the two of them as he goes underneath the Logitech G boarding. And it's nice to see that. Oh, Maddox Mason's turned it upside down as well. So Noah Gronier from Sebastian Ferreira. Logan Balau is a little bit further back, but holding on to a very nice third position. Sebastian Venko still, as Mateo Mason's got it onto the outside of the circuit. Let's hope he'll be able to get that one sorted out. But I think Noah Gronier doing a lovely job at this stage of the fight, doing it all right and leading them out. That is Noah Gronier. And going just a little bit further backwards. There you can see that's the gap that he's got between himself and Sebastian Ferreira.
Down the main straight to go, heading into the hairpin left-hander. That's turn number 1. One thing I will say about Noah Gronier is the fact that when everybody else was trying to overdrive the kart and getting it all wrong and rolling the things and hitting the grass embankments, he just kept it smooth on the track in perfect control of that CRG chassis of his. Is Noah Gronier. He was, when they crossed the line, 1.8 seconds ahead of second place man Sebastian Ferreira. The two CRGs are sitting in P1 and 2 at this point in time. Logan Balau in that third position. He is 4 seconds behind Sebastian Ferreira. As we have a look at Ferreira, and there's only 1.8 seconds as they start another lap between himself and race leader Noah Cronje.
Oh, Logan Bilal on the last lap was 4 seconds further back. You'll probably, if you take a long shot going into the corner, nope, there's enough breathing room there for Sebastian Ferreira to not have to worry about what's... Oh, there you can see, coming through underneath the bridge, Logan Bilal is on the move. On the last lap, 4.5 seconds further back from the man we got on screen. That is Sebastian Ferreira, but definitely closing up. But his interest is in what's happening in front of him. Look at that, Noah Cronje holding out 6 of the 13 laps, and we're coming to you from the Logitech G circuit from Zwartkops.
Well, from Zwartkops International Raceway in Erasmus, just outside of Pretoria, under the Logitech G bridge they go. Racing down into turn number 1. There's still 1.8 seconds between Ferreira in P2 and Cronje that sits out there in P1. 17 seconds behind Ferreira and Cronje is Sebastian Venko in the 333 outfit, and he is there in that it's Venkov. Alright, I called him Venko because the name didn't come up all the way, so it is Sebastian Venkov, my apologies. That's sitting there in that 3rd position, and he is trying his level best to get to Cronje and Ferreira as Logan Bilal has turned it upside down.
Frank, you think he's got a shortage of traction there?
Got a shortage of a lot of things.
So, Noah Cronje doing a brilliant job in this. The final itself, Noah Cronje, I think the folks will be super chuffed at home with this effort. But don't count out that man in 2nd position, Sebastian Ferreira, holding sway right now without any problem. 8 of the 13 laps. Noah cannot make a mistake at this stage of the fight. It's just too close.
Well, it's all about Cronje and Ferreira at this point in time. When they crossed that start-finish line, there was 1.222 seconds behind Cronje and Ferreira. One wrong move by Cronje and it's over. Remember, this is not saloon car racing or sports car racing. This is karting. You get it wrong, you are in deep, deep trouble. That's for sure. And 1.2 seconds is nothing. Ferreira has got the best seat in the house because he's yonks ahead of the 333 cart that's sitting there in that 3rd position. He's 19 seconds behind Venkov, as a matter of fact. So he is pretty safe. If he makes a mistake in that 2nd position, he shouldn't lose that 2nd position. It's Cronje, Gary, that cannot afford to step out of line.
Yeah, it's for Cronje to lose it. It's for Ferreira to win. Oh, using the track, the gravel on the outside and more. That curbstone is pretty high. Lap 9 of 13. He's got a lovely apex there. Oh, that closes him a long way up. Sebastian Ferreira riding on board with the 315, closing down on a Noah Cronje. Noah must be feeling the pressure. If he's got a set of headsets on there, Frankie, I'm sure he'll hear the sound of the cart that's catching up from behind.
Oh, well, you'll know that Ferreira is right there behind him. When they crossed that line, there was 0.8 of a second between Cronje and Ferreira. We're currently on lap number 10. When they cross the line, there'll be 3 more laps to go into that double right-hander online kart league Africa, and we're working our way around the Logitech G karting circuit at Zwartkops International Raceway. That's the main straight, racing down into turn number 1, and there is 0.3 of a second between Noah Cronje and Sebastian Ferreira. Ferreira's all over the back of Cronje as they make their way into that right-hander and under the bridge.
Well, we've seen somebody earlier up on top of the grass there. As you go there by the bridge, I see the bombers all the way around. There will be spectators added to the setup during the course of this season as well. So all the upgrades that have been done by Shane Loubser and crew, a big thanks as they make it some brilliant footage that we can bring here for you. And look at this one, Noah Cronje, just 2 more laps to go. We'll be hearing Sebastian Ferreira right in there behind him.
Lap number 12, there's a 1/10 of a second. Will he lunge up on the inside? Yes, he does. Oh, there's contact. And Cronje spins due to that contact. Cronje now drops down to that 2nd position with lap number 12 of 13. This is the second last lap. Nova Cronier is now in that second position, and this young man will be pretty miffed. Well, that is karting. This is what karting is all about. It's rough, it's tough, it's hardcore. You don't give an inch, but you take an inch wherever you can. And with 1 and a bit laps to go, it is Sebastian Ferreira that sits out there in P1 as we look from the helmet cam of now second place man Nova Cronier.
Oh, there's the white flag. You saw it there on the right hand side. So this is the last time around for Sebastian Ferreira from Nova Cronier, and Nova Cronier having done a brilliant job, except for that one situation where Sebastian Ferreira had a dive up on the inside, but rather than over keen than not really in the game. And I do think the right thing to do would be to join Sebastian Ferreira as he goes through on his very last lap.
Well, only 3 karts out there. Everybody else is retired. Logan Bilal shows us 6 laps down. So, your
Jensen
leader.
Diaz is still, we see him upside down on the infield grass. He never got to get that one sorted out, and we see he's now under retirement.
Sebastian Ferreira, I think while you were talking there, Gary, he came around to take the checkered flag. He's Ferreira. Nova Cronier 4.1 seconds behind him. When they started that lap, he was right on his case. Nova Cronier will come around to finish in that second position. Then Sebastian Venkov, the only other man out there, was 21.8 seconds behind Ferreira when he started the last lap, and he's the only other one out on circuit. Bilal 7 laps down, but he's still lying upside down somewhere. Jensen Diaz is retired.
There
Everybody else is retired.
Bilal that was upside down there on the grass, Frankie, on
Yep.
the inside of that corner. So brilliant drive by Sebastian Ferreira. I think, well, you couldn't do it any better than that. There you go, Venkov going through the checkered flag, and that will bring up a overall 3rd position. And the last man still out there on track with Jensen Diaz still trying to get the car turned over. Logan Bilal, well, initially it was going pretty well, but didn't work out towards the end of that one. But as you say, Frankie, that's what it's all about. This is the youngsters. This is the mini 60s from from the Online Karting League Africa, from the Logitech G circuit out at Zwartkops. And that is the end of the final race for the juniors. Frankie, something completely different for us, and yeah, we look and learn as we go.
Yeah, just something we've got to get used to. It's very quick, it's very fast, it's very furious. But then again, that is what karting is all about. So, the podium, only 3 of them. Sebastian Ferreira, P1. P2, Nova Cronier, 4.1 seconds behind him. P3, Sebastian Venkov, 21.8 seconds behind Sebastian Ferreira.
So folks, thanks very much for joining us. We'll be coming back to you at 8:30. The seniors and masters will be practicing from 8 o'clock. In fact, let's go back at 8:15, and we're going to give you a bit of information between 8:15 and 8:30. Then we'll go into a 10-minute qualifying session. Then we will have their pre-final, and that's going to be a biggie, because in the seniors, the likes of Troy Dolenchik, Lucas Lemin, Tate Bishop, Sebastian Diaz, Fadil Dali, Jason Kutsia in there as well, Rudy Schassler, Mohammed Murat, William Marshall, Ruben Carstens, Jude Stewart, and then we've got Malawi Motobani and Tiso Matobani, and then Jono Wilson. Joining them will be the Masters, which is himself, Shan Loubser, with Mark Pollard, who's done a lot of practicing in the Against All Odds esports team, Michael Jordan, Andre Beckencourt, Quinton Loubser, and then from the Kabuki Motorsport side of the world, that is Carl Lawrence, the well-known Carl Lawrence, a man that also did some commentary not that long ago, and then the Squadra de Karte, Elie Vigara, and we've also done some commentary back in the day, probably 2 years back, on Elie Vigara. So that wraps it up from the Second Gear Studios. On behalf of myself, Gary Fleming, and Frankie Yenis, we will be back with you at 8:15, right here, the exact same spot where you saw this race.
Yeah, don't go too far away. We'll be back in just under